I believe that it started when I was 6 years old, and I entered into the residential school, because from birth to 6 years old, I was treated as a loving child. I was given love and affection from my family, and disciplined in the way the natives discipline their children, which is without abuse. And when I went into the residential school, the first day I was so excited because it was my first day of school. And when my mother, when the supervisor asked my mother, what is her name? And she said, McEwerston. And this I heard. And they said, no, she's got to have another name. And, you know, like I was just looking at that person that was, and I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand English. So I was only told by my mother, you know, what was said. And, you know, she told me that they were asking for my English name, and your name is Ethel. And she says, you have to listen to Ethel. And I had 3 strikes against me, you know, as, you know, going into a residential school run by the non-native society and the Anglican Church. One is I didn't speak English. I didn't know how, because at home we only spoke Tla'amin. And then I was like a little rascal when I was a child, because everybody loved me so much that I could just go and do whatever it was that I wanted to do. And I knew better not to do the wrong thing, because my family were very spiritual. And then the other one was that I took pride in being an Indian, because my grandparents told me, you know, over and over and over, you know, hold your head up high, don't put your head down, walk tall, put your shoulders, you know, they actually would, you know, make me go through the motions of how to stand and how to hold my head up. And I don't know how many times I bit my tongue, you know, when my grandfather would see me and I'd have my head down because I got in trouble for something or whatever, and he'd hit me on the bottom of my chin. And, you know, my tongue was always in the way, and I would, you know, cry because I got a hurt tongue. And my first experience in residential school was just like ripping me away from mother. What reminds me of the treatment that I receive, and the only way I can describe it when people ask me how I felt, is I could only feel how a child feels when they're ripped out of the womb of their mother, when abortion is performed. Because that's what happened to me when I was, you know, leaving, or when I was leaving my mother, was that I didn't understand why they were taking me, but because I wouldn't leave my mother, they took me physically and marched me down the hallway and marched me down the stairs and no more mom. And then it was just one thing led to another, and I was constantly abused because I didn't want to forget my language. I didn't want to stop talking Tla'amin. I wanted to keep talking, and so all of my other relations were there. So I knew at home we spoke Tla'amin. So I'd speak to them in school, and I'd get slapped across the mouth, or I'd get knocked to the floor. And stop. Okay. One experience that I had was, I don't know how many days it was that I was in school, but I know that it was just new, because I was still getting into trouble. And I really, like, they filed us regimentally by size. So I was in the little people's line, and I really needed to go to the washroom. And we weren't supposed to step out of line. And I was standing there, and I really had to go to the washroom. And so, I put my hand up, and the matron looked at me, and she said, "Speak up," and so I was taught by my elders to speak gently. And so I told her, "Kay meminkan," and she slapped me. And then when I fell to the floor, I wet myself, because a sudden smack in the face and then sudden fall to the will force anybody to urinate on themselves. And then because I urinated on myself, I got another beating. And so it was one thing led to another, and I spent 12 years in residential school. And one thing that I didn't lose, because I went to residential school, as some of my people have lost the faith in Christianity. Because of my grandparents and my parents, I maintained my spirituality. I always remember that whatever I do to others, I'll receive it 10 times fold. And I was taught this when I was little. And so I always tried not to get mad. I always tried not to be naughty, but I always ended up doing something that those supervisors didn't want me to do.